My name is Sarah Connor, and I'm 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, my father stood up at their 45th anniversary dinner and announced a 10-day Caribbean cruise for the whole family. 40 guests applauded. My sister squealed with excitement. And when I asked which cabin was mine, my mother said 7 words that shattered everything. "You're not coming. Watch the kids." 40 pairs of eyes, 40 witnesses to the moment my family told me I wasn't really family at all, just the help, just the babysitter, just the background character in their picture-perfect story. I stood there in my simple black dress, the same dress I'd worn while spending 3 months planning this anniversary party, coordinating the catering, handwriting 60 place cards, arranging flowers, pressing tablecloths. I'd done everything, and my reward was being told I didn't deserve a cabin on a cruise I'd helped make possible. Someone in the crowd whispered something. I caught the words, "poor thing," and "she must be used to it by now." My sister Brooke didn't even look at me. Her husband Justin actually laughed. But here's what none of them knew. While they saw me as the family babysitter, the one with nothing important to do, I'd been building something in silence, something that was about to change everything. 3 years of late nights and early mornings. 3 years of coding while they thought I was watching Netflix. 3 years of building an app that 47,000 mothers were already using, and that number was doubling every week. They thought I was nobody. They were about to find out how wrong they were. That night, standing in front of 40 witnesses who just watched my family erase me, I made a decision. I was done being invisible. I was done being grateful for scraps. I was done running in the background of everyone else's life. It was finally time to launch my own. Before I tell you what happened next, drop your city in the comments. I want to know where this story is reaching today. And if you've ever been the family member everyone forgets until they need something, type me in the comments. This story is for you. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you about the app I built while they weren't watching. I work as a software developer, freelance mostly, remote contracts with startups and tech companies, the kind of work you can do from anywhere with a laptop and a decent internet connection. To my family, this meant I had a flexible schedule, and flexible schedule meant available. Available to babysit, available to fix their computers, available to do their taxes, available to drop everything whenever they needed something, because clearly I had nothing important going on. I'd been doing their tech support for as long as I could remember, setting up their phones, configuring their smart TVs, recovering their passwords when they forgot them for the 100th time. I built 3 different websites for my sister's failed businesses. I did the family taxes for 7 years. All free, of course. Family doesn't charge family. The money I'd given them over the years was harder to track, but I kept records. I always kept records. That's what programmers do. We document everything. $18,000 to Brooke over 6 years. Business loans, she called them, though none of her businesses ever lasted more than a few months, and she never paid back a single cent. $6,500 to my brother-in-law Justin when he was between jobs and needed help with his car payment. $4,000 for my parents' new laptop when their old one died. $28,500 total. Money I'd given freely because that's what family does. Money that disappeared into their lives without a single thank you. But here's the thing about being underestimated. It gives you time. Time that nobody notices. Time that nobody questions. 3 years ago, I started building something. It began with my niece and nephew. I was babysitting them for the 100th time, watching Brooke fumble through another chaotic morning. She couldn't remember when the baby had last eaten, she'd lost track of nap times, she was exhausted and overwhelmed and completely disorganized. And I thought, there should be an app for this. So I built one. I called it Baby Track, a simple, intuitive app that helps new mothers monitor their baby's routine. Sleep tracking, feeding schedules, diaper changes, growth milestones, everything a first-time mom needs to feel less overwhelmed, all in one place. I coded it in the evenings after my freelance work was done. I designed the interface on weekends while my family assumed I was watching TV alone in my apartment. I tested every feature, fixed every bug, refined every screen. 3 years of invisible work. 3 years of building something from nothing. 6 weeks before the anniversary party, I submitted Baby Track to the Apple App Store. 4 weeks later, it was approved for Google Play. And then something happened that I never expected. A popular mommy blogger discovered the app. She wrote a review calling it a lifesaver for new parents. Her post went viral in parenting communities. Downloads exploded. 47,000 users and growing by 2,000 every day. $12,000 in monthly revenue from premium subscriptions. And a week before my parents' anniversary party, I received an email from TechCrunch asking if I'd be interested in an interview. TechCrunch, one of the biggest tech publications in the world, wanting to talk to me. I stared at that email for 20 minutes. My hands were shaking. This was real. This was actually happening. But I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone except the one person who'd believed in me from the beginning, my Aunt June. They thought I spent my evenings watching Netflix alone. They had no idea I'd built an app that 47,000 mothers were already using, and that number was doubling every week. To understand why that anniversary party broke me, you need to understand the pattern. 34 years of small cuts that bled so slowly, I didn't notice I was dying from them. Let me take you back to my childhood. My sister Brooke is 3 years younger than me. Growing up, she was the sun, and I was expected to orbit around her. She was pretty and social and charming in all the ways I wasn't. I was quiet. I liked computers. I preferred dukes to parties. When Brooke wanted to be a cheerleader, my parents paid for camps and uniforms and drove her to every competition. When I wanted to join the computer club, my father frowned and said, "That's a boy's thing. Why not try something normal?" When Brooke graduated high school with mediocre grades, my parents threw her a party with 50 guests and a DJ. When I graduated a year early with honors and a scholarship to study computer science, my mother said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to helping Brooke choose a prom dress. I told myself it didn't matter. I buried myself in code, in logic, in the clean predictability of systems that worked exactly as they were designed to. I graduated with honors from Boston University. I built a freelance career that gave me freedom and flexibility. I was fine. But the comparisons never stopped. When Brooke announced she wanted to be an entrepreneur, my parents were thrilled. They funded her first business, a boutique selling handmade candles. It lasted 4 months. They funded her second business, a social media consulting firm. Despite Brooke having no experience in social media or consulting, it lasted 6 months. They funded her third business, a subscription box for wellness products. 3 months. 4 businesses, tens of thousands of dollars, all of it gone. And every time one failed, my parents said, "She's just finding herself. She's so creative. She'll figure it out." When I told them I'd landed a major contract with a tech startup, my father nodded. "That's practical. At least you have something stable." Practical, stable, the words they used for me while Brooke got creative and visionary. But the moment that should have warned me, the moment that revealed exactly what I was to them, happened 2 years ago, when I got pneumonia. It started as a cough I couldn't shake. Within a week, I was running a fever of 103 and struggling to breathe. I called my mother from my apartment, my voice barely a whisper. "Mom, I need help. I think I need to go to the hospital." Her response still echoes in my head. "Oh, honey, I wish I could come, but Brooke has a huge investor meeting tomorrow. She's so stressed. Can't you call an Uber?" An Uber, to the emergency room, while I could barely stand. I did call an Uber. I rode to the hospital alone, checked myself in, and spent 4 days in a bed with an IV in my arm and no one by my side. No one except Aunt June, who flew in from Austin the moment she heard. She sat with me for 3 days, brought me soup, read to me when I was too tired to look at screens. She was the only one who came. During my hospitalization, Brooke posted on Instagram a photo of her and my mother at a spa, champagne glasses raised, the caption reading, "Self-Care Sunday with Mom." I saw that post from my hospital bed. I didn't cry. I think I was too tired to cry. I just turned off my phone and stared at the ceiling and wondered what I'd done wrong to deserve being so invisible. But the anniversary party was worse, because at least the hospital was private. The anniversary party happened in front of everyone. I'd spent 3 months planning that event. I'd coordinated with the caterer, arranged the flowers, handwritten 60 place cards in the calligraphy my mother insisted upon. I'd pressed the tablecloths and polished the crystal and created a playlist of my parents' favorite songs from the last 45 years. On the day of the party, I arrived at 7 in the morning. I wore jeans and a t-shirt because there was no point dressing up when I'd be in the kitchen for the next 10 hours. Brooke arrived at 7:15 in the evening, perfectly timed for maximum impact. She swept through the door in a designer dress, her husband Justin behind her in a tailored suit, their kids dressed like catalog models. My mother rushed to embrace her, exclaiming over how beautiful she looked, how handsome Justin was, how precious the grandchildren were. "Everyone, you remember my daughter Brooke and her husband Justin?" My mother announced to the room. "Justin just made partner at his firm. We're so proud." Applause, congratulations, admiration. Nobody mentioned that I'd done Justin's taxes for 3 years, for free. I circulated with appetizers, refilled wine glasses, answered questions from guests who didn't recognize me. "Are you with the catering company?" one woman asked. Before I could answer, my mother appeared. "Oh, that's Sarah, my other daughter. She's helping out tonight." The woman smiled politely and turned away. My mother didn't notice. She never noticed. The announcement came at 9 o'clock. My father stood up, tapping his champagne glass. "Patricia and I want to thank you all for being here tonight. 45 years of marriage, 4 decades of building this family, this life, this home." My mother beamed beside him. Brooke reached for Justin's hand. I stood near the kitchen doorway, still holding a dirty dessert plate. "And to celebrate this milestone," my father continued, "we have a surprise announcement." He paused for effect. "Next week, we're taking the whole family on a cruise, 10 days in the Caribbean, a second celebration, just the Connors." The room erupted in murmurs. "How wonderful! What a gift! You two deserve it." I felt something lift in my chest. The whole family. That meant me too. For once, I wouldn't be cooking or cleaning or babysitting. I'd actually be included. I stepped forward, allowing myself a smile. "That sounds incredible. Which cabin am I in? I can share with anyone." The question hung in the air. Silence fell over the room. My parents exchanged a look. Something passed between them that I'd seen 1,000 times but never understood until that moment. "You're not coming, Sarah." My mother's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was telling me what time dinner was. "Brooke and Justin need a real vacation. Someone has to stay with the children." 40 pairs of eyes, 40 witnesses. I heard myself say something. I don't remember what. The words came out automatically, the same words I'd been trained to say my entire life. "Of course, I understand. No problem." Justin laughed. Actually laughed. And then I went to the kitchen and I washed dishes for an hour while my family celebrated without me. That's when I found the emails. My mother's laptop was open on the counter. I shouldn't have looked. I knew I shouldn't have looked. But I saw my name in the subject line and I couldn't stop myself. Cruise arrangements, Sarah situation. The thread was between my mother and Brooke starting a week before the party. From my mother. "Keep Sarah here with the kids. She doesn't have a real job anyway. It's like having free help. She should be grateful we give her something to do." From Brooke. "Totally. She'll probably feel useful for once. It's kind of sad, honestly, but it works out for us, LOL." Free help. She should be grateful. Kind of sad. I read those words 3 times to make sure I understood them. Then I took screenshots. I emailed them to myself. I deleted the evidence and cleared the browser history, and I stood in my mother's kitchen at midnight, finally understanding exactly what I was to them. Not family, not daughter, not sister, just free help. That's when I stopped crying and started planning. There's one person in my family who actually sees me. Her name is June Holloway, and she's my father's younger sister. In my family, Aunt June is what they call the disappointment. She never married. She followed her passion for technology instead of settling down like a normal woman. 20 years ago, she left a corporate job in Boston to open a UX design consultancy in Austin, Texas. My mother has never forgiven her. June threw away her potential, my mother likes to say. She could have had a good career, but she chose to play with websites in Texas. What my mother doesn't understand, what she's never understood, is that Aunt June built something. Her consultancy now employs 12 people. She works with Fortune 500 companies on user experience design. She speaks at conferences. She travels the world. But to my family, she's still just the weird sister who never got married. I've been calling Aunt June every Sunday night for 8 years. My family doesn't know. It started after I graduated college and realized I had no one to talk to about my actual life, my actual interests, the things that mattered to me. June was the one who taught me to code when I was 14. She sent me my first programming book, a battered copy of JavaScript for Beginners, with a note that said, "This is going to change your life. Don't tell your mother." She was right. It did change my life, and I never told my mother. When I started building BabyTrack, June was the first person I told. She tested every beta version. She gave me feedback on the interface, the user flow, the onboarding experience. She connected me with designers and developers in her network who helped me refine the product. She believed in me when no one else did. The night of the anniversary party, I called her at 1 in the morning. My voice was raw from crying, my hands still smelling like dish soap. I told her everything. The announcement, the humiliation, the emails. 34 years of invisibility finally crystallizing into something I couldn't ignore anymore. When I finished, there was silence on the line. Then June said something that changed everything. "Sarah, pack your bags. I have a guest room with your name on it. And there's an investor here in Austin who's been asking about you ever since I showed him BabyTrack. It's time to stop hiding." I gripped the phone tighter. "I can't just leave." "Yes, you can." Her voice was gentle but firm. "You spent 34 years being their background character. You've built something incredible while they weren't watching, and now they want you to stay home and babysit while they go on a cruise?" When she put it like that, the answer seemed obvious. "Come to Austin," she continued. "Build your company. Let me introduce you to people who will actually see you." What if it fails? What if it doesn't? What if this is just the beginning? I hung up at 2 in the morning. By 6, I'd started packing. 3 suitcases, my laptop, my phone, the external hard drive with 3 years of code backed up in 3 different places, because that's what programmers do. I left behind the apartment I'd lived in for 8 years. I left behind the dishes I'd washed and the parties I'd planned and the niece and nephew I'd cared for without compensation or recognition. For 34 years, I'd been debugging everyone else's problems. It was finally time to run my own program. I didn't tell my family I was leaving. I just sent a text saying, "I won't be available to watch the kids this week. Good luck finding other arrangements." Then I turned off my phone and started driving. Boston to Austin is 28 hours if you push it. I didn't push it. I took 3 days, stopping at motels, eating at diners where nobody knew my name, watching the landscape change from New England stone walls to Texas scrubland. Somewhere in Tennessee, I pulled over at a rest stop and just sat there, watching the sunset over the highway. I was free. For the first time in 34 years, I was actually free. When I turned my phone back on in Arkansas, I had 47 notifications, 15 voicemails from my mother, each one more dramatic than the last. "You're destroying this family, Sarah. Brooke is pregnant again. She needs you. Your father is devastated. He barely ate dinner. If you're not here when we get back from the cruise, don't expect us to forgive you." Text messages from Brooke, weaponized guilt in every word. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm your sister. The kids keep asking where Aunt Sarah is. You're breaking their hearts. Do you even care about anyone besides yourself?" One text from Justin, "Seriously uncool, Sarah. We were counting on you." And from my father, nothing. Complete silence, the enabler to the end. I deleted the voicemails without listening to all of them. I blocked the numbers, and I kept driving. I arrived at Aunt June's house on a Tuesday evening. It was a small bungalow in East Austin, filled with plants and books and the warm chaos of a life fully lived. She had the guest room ready, just like she'd promised. Fresh sheets, a desk by the window, good Wi-Fi. "Welcome home," she said, pulling me into a hug. For the first time in my life, somewhere actually felt like home. The next 3 weeks were the most productive of my life. I worked on BabyTrack from morning until night, adding features, fixing bugs, responding to user feedback. June introduced me to her network, founders and developers and investors who actually wanted to hear what I was building. One of those investors was a woman named Diana Reyes. She ran a fund focused on femtech, technology built for women's health and wellness. She'd been following BabyTrack since the Mommy Blogger review went viral. Over coffee at a downtown Austin cafe, she made me an offer: $150,000 for 10% of the company. I stared at her across the table. That's a lot of money. It's a fair valuation for an app with your traction, Diana smiled. 47,000 users, 12,000 in monthly recurring revenue. You're onto something, Sarah. I want to help you scale it. I signed the term sheet that afternoon. Meanwhile, my family's cruise was happening. I heard about it later, pieced together from texts and voicemails, and one very awkward call with my father. Apparently, it was a disaster. Without me there to manage the children, nobody knew what to do. Oliver had an allergic reaction to something because no one remembered to check the ingredients. Sophie had a meltdown in the dining room every single night. Justin complained constantly about how exhausting the kids were. Brooke spent most of the cruise at the spa, hiding from her own children. My mother complained about everything. The service wasn't attentive enough, the food wasn't up to her standards, the cabin was too small. "This is the worst vacation ever," she reportedly said on day 4. Who was supposed to plan this? Nobody answered her. The week after they got back, something happened that changed everything. TechCrunch published their article about BabyTrack. The headline read, "BabyTrack, the app built by a woman tired of being invisible." The story went viral. Downloads exploded from 47,000 to 200,000 in 3 weeks. Apple featured the app as App of the Day in the health category. Revenue jumped from $12,000 to $58,000 a month. Investors started calling. Other publications wanted interviews. I was invited to speak at the Austin Women in Tech Summit, one of the biggest tech conferences in the state. While my family was complaining about buffet food on a cruise ship, I was building an empire. They thought my silence meant I'd given up. They had no idea I was just getting started. The Austin Women in Tech Summit filled a convention center downtown with 500 attendees, investors, founders, journalists, developers. The energy was electric, the kind of buzz that happens when ambitious people gather in one place. I was invited to speak on a panel called From Side Project to Startup, Women Who Built in the Shadows. 4 founders sharing our stories of building companies while the world wasn't watching. I wore a navy blazer and my favorite silk blouse, the one I'd bought with my first month of BabyTrack revenue. My hair was styled. I'd practiced my talking points with June until I could deliver them without notes. This was my moment. The panel was moderated by a tech journalist from Wired. 4 of us sat on stage under bright lights facing an audience of hundreds. When it was my turn to share my story, I took a breath and spoke from the heart. I built BabyTrack in the hours no one noticed I existed. I'd just spent a decade being my family's tech support, their event planner, their free babysitter. And one day, I realized that the skills I was giving away for free were actually worth something. The audience was leaning in, nodding, taking notes. I built the app while they thought I was watching Netflix alone, I continued. I tested it while babysitting niece and nephew. I refined it during holidays when everyone else was celebrating and I was in the kitchen doing dishes. Laughter, recognition, applause. Turns out, invisibility gave me time to create something visible to 200,000 mothers. And counting. The applause swelled. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I held them back. This was not the time for crying. This was the time for standing tall. After the panel, there was a networking reception. I was surrounded by people who wanted to talk about the app, about the business, about my journey. For the first time in my life, I was the center of attention for something I'd built, not something I'd done for someone else. And then I saw them. My mother, my father, Brooke, and Justin, standing at the back of the reception hall, completely out of place. Brooke was wearing a sundress more suited for brunch than a tech conference. Justin was in khakis and a polo, already looking at his phone. My mother had her arms crossed, scanning the room with an expression I knew too well. They'd found me. Later, I learned that Brooke had seen the TechCrunch article shared on LinkedIn. She'd Googled Baby Track founder and discovered everything. My face, my name, my story, all of it public now, impossible to hide. They'd flown to Austin that morning, no warning, no invitation, just showing up to claim credit for a success they'd never supported. My mother spotted me first. Her face lit up with that performative warmth she used for strangers, the one that never reached her eyes when we were alone. "Sarah!" She pushed through the crowd toward me. "Sweetheart, we came to support you. Why didn't you tell us about all this?" I stood my ground. "Because you told me I didn't have anything important to do." Her smile flickered. "That's not... We never meant..." Brooke appeared beside her, eyes darting around the room at the other attendees, the journalists, the obvious wealth and success surrounding us. "This is so unfair, Sarah." She kept her voice low, aware of the audience. "You let us think you were just sitting around doing nothing. You made us look bad." "I didn't let you think anything." I met her eyes steadily. "You decided I was nothing. I just stopped correcting you." A woman appeared at my elbow, tall, elegant, with silver-streaked hair and an air of quiet authority. Diana Reyes, my investor. "Is everything okay here, Sarah?" My mother turned to her with that bright, false smile. "Oh, we're fine. We're her family. We just came to support her." Diana's expression didn't change. "Interesting, because Sarah told our entire panel that her family thought she had nothing important to do. Is that accurate?" The silence was deafening. My mother's smile faltered. That's being taken out of context." Brooke jumped in. "This is the misunderstanding. We always supported her, right, Sarah?" I looked at my sister, at the desperation in her eyes, at the dawning realization that her narrative was crumbling in front of people who mattered, people she couldn't charm or manipulate. "Would you like me to read what you actually think of me?" I pulled out my phone. I have the emails. Brooke went pale. "Sarah, don't. Keep Sarah here with the kids," I read aloud. My voice carried across the reception. "She doesn't have a real job anyway. It's like having free help. She should be grateful we give her something to do." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone said, "Oh my God," loud enough for everyone to hear. And Brooke's response, I continued, "She'll probably feel useful for once. It's kind of sad, honestly, but it works out for us." My mother's face had gone from false warmth to genuine horror. 40 people were watching her mask fall. 40 people who would never see her the same way again. A voice cut through the tension, Aunt June, stepping forward with the confidence of someone who'd spent 20 years in business. "I think it's time for you to leave. This is Sarah's moment." My mother whirled on her. "Who are you to tell us?" "I'm the one who taught her to code when she was 14. June's voice was steady, unapologetic. "I'm the one who tested every version of that app. I'm the one who connected her with investors when you were too busy calling her the family babysitter." She stepped closer to my mother. "What did you ever do besides take her for granted?" The room was silent. Every eye was on us. And then my father spoke. "She's right, Linda. We missed it. All of it. Sarah built this whole thing and we never even asked what she did with her time. We just assumed she had nothing because it was convenient, because it meant we didn't have to think about her." "Dad," Brooke started. He held up a hand. "I'm proud of you, Sarah." He looked at me, really looked at me, for maybe the first time in my adult life. I should have said it years ago. I'm sorry I never did. Something cracked in my chest. Not healing, just recognition of an old wound finally being acknowledged. "I know, Dad," I said quietly, "but it doesn't change anything. Not anymore." The security guards June had quietly alerted appeared at the edge of the crowd. Diana stepped forward, her hand on my shoulder. "I believe this is a private event," she said to my family. "Perhaps you should go." My mother opened her mouth to argue, but Justin, reading the room for once in his life, took her arm. "Let's go, Linda. We're done here." They left through the side door, escorted by security. Brooke was crying. My mother was rigid with humiliation. My father looked back once, something like regret in his eyes. I didn't wave. I didn't call out. I just watched them leave. When they were gone, the room exhaled. Diana squeezed my shoulder. "Well," she said dryly, "that's gonna make one hell of a founder story." I laughed, actually laughed, the first real laugh in weeks. Around me, the reception resumed. People approached with questions about the app, about my journey, about what came next. The journalist from Wired asked if she could do a follow-up interview. I was surrounded by people who saw me, people who valued what I'd built. And for the first time in 34 years, I wasn't invisible anymore. That was 1 year ago. Today, I'm sitting in the office of Baby Track headquarters in downtown Austin. Not a garage, not a coffee shop, an actual office with glass walls and standing desks, and a team of 8 people who show up every day to build something that helps mothers feel less alone. 1.2 million users, 12 countries, a second round of funding that closed at $2.3 million. We were featured in Forbes 30 Under 40 in Femtech list, which made me laugh because I'm 35 now and there's nothing under about my journey. The app that I built while nobody was watching now reaches more mothers every day than I could have imagined. Every review that says, "This app saved my sanity," or "Finally, I feel like I know what I'm doing," reminds me why I started. I built something real, something that matters. Aunt June comes by the office every week. She's on my advisory board now, officially. She brings coffee and wisdom and the kind of support I spent 34 years wishing my actual parents would provide. I met someone too. His name is Marcus, a software engineer I connected with at that same conference where my family ambushed me. He builds healthcare apps. He thinks what I've done is impressive. He tells me he's proud of me at least once a week. It still surprises me every time. I'm not used to people being proud of me. As for my family, we've settled into something new, something distant but honest. Brooke had her baby, a girl. She finally hired a nanny, which apparently she could have afforded all along. We exchange birthday texts now, nothing more. My mother sent a letter 3 months after the conference, 4 pages of explanations that weren't quite apologies, justifications dressed up as reconciliation. I read it once and put it in a drawer. I haven't responded. But my father surprised me. He sent an email a week after the conference, just 3 lines. "Sarah, I saw who you've become. I should have seen it years ago. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry I wasn't there." I wrote back. We email occasionally now, brief updates, nothing deep. He visited Austin once, alone. We had coffee. He asked about the app, about my life, about things he'd never thought to ask before. It's not forgiveness. It's not reconciliation. It's just 2 people trying to see each other clearly, maybe for the first time. The rest of the family, I've let go. Not with anger, not with bitterness, just with the quiet understanding that some people will never see you, no matter how brightly you shine. And that's okay. You're not required to keep auditioning for people who've already decided you don't have the part. Last week, June stopped by my office at the end of the day. She stood in the doorway watching me finish up some code review and smiled. "You know what I love most about this?" she asked. "What?" "You built an app to help mothers track their babies, and your own mother never tracked you at all." She shook her head. "That's poetic justice." I laughed, and then I thought about it more seriously. "Maybe that's exactly why I built it," I said. "Maybe I wanted to create for other mothers what mine never gave me. Attention, tracking, the simple acknowledgement that someone's paying attention to whether you're okay." June nodded slowly. "You turned your wound into a gift for other people. That's not revenge, Sarah. That's transformation." I looked around my office, at the team working late because they believed in what we were building, at the screens showing download numbers climbing higher every hour, at the life I'd created while everyone who should have supported me was looking the other way. For 34 years, I ran in the background of everyone else's life. Now I run my own company. They wanted free help. I gave myself a future. And the best part? 1 million mothers see me every single day. They open my app, they track their babies, they feel a little less alone in the chaos of new parenthood. Turns out, I was never invisible. I was just waiting to be downloaded. If you made it this far, thank you for being here. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It really helps more people find these stories. I want to hear from you. Have you ever built something while everyone around you thought you were doing nothing important? Have you ever had to walk away from people who couldn't see your value?
Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's been the family helper, the invisible one, the person everyone takes for granted, share it with them. You're not stuck. You're not worthless. You're not invisible. You're just waiting for your moment to launch. Until next time, remember, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so full that you forget to be angry. You deserve that. We all do.